Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Amud Yomi Shiur. Let's start. Let's go with another Amud of Bava Metzia. We are in Bava Metzia, Daf Kuf Hey Amud Beis in the very bottom of the page. Today's Amud is Kuf Vav Amud Aleph, but we are still in Kuf Hey Amud Beis in the bottom because it's a new Mishnah. So, as we know, this parak talks about the topic of the Mekabel, Oris, and Chachir, people who accepted upon themselves for good money to work someone else's field with different agreements. So let's see what this Mishnah has to say about that. Says the Mishnah, Mekabel sodo mechaveroi. A person accepted to work, toil, labor someone else's field, obviously for a certain agreement. We're talking here about a chochir, by the way. I'm going to tell you now already. A chochir is a person who basically rented the field for fruit. He has to give a fixed amount of fruit to the owner of the field per year. Every year he has to come up with, let's say, 50 tons or so, regardless of how much he's making. As opposed to the oris, which is a person who works for a percentage, the chochir is a person who doesn't work for a percentage. He just has to give a set amount every year. Okay, very nice. So we always look at the chochir, before we continue the Mishnah, we always look at the chochir as Mr. Fixed Guy. That's it. I don't care what happens. The chochir has to give, the fruit to the owner. This Mishnah is going to show us an exception to this rule. I'm restarting to read the Mishnah. A mekabel sodom mechaveroi. Person accepted the field and he's a chochir. There was a catastrophe. Ochlo chagav, locust came, like an arbe in Mitzrayim, locust came and ate it all up. Oy nishdefa. Nishdefa means that strong wind came, dry wind came, and made the grains fall. Yeah, the grains actually fell, they dried out and fell, and now there's nothing left, or almost nothing left. Then what? Im makas medina hi. Makas Medina means if it's a regional plague, it's a plague over the entire region. Yeah, it's not just this field, but there's a general problem. Those locusts or the wind came to other places, not just this field. Then that's one exception to the rule. And the chochir may hold back the dmei chachirus. He may hold back. Tosa says it's not even menake. Tosa says it means he can actually hold back all the chachirus. Why? As much as we say that he has to pay regardless of what he did, that is if he's able to work. But if he has something that's not a field, he doesn't have the ability to work bichlal, it's that bad, he doesn't have to bichlal pay. Pay for what? Pay for something that's not workable, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault. We only say if it's a general problem all over the place. If it's not a general problem, but only his field out of all other fields was hit by locust or hit by the strong wind that made everything fall, then we say no. We say that he still has to pay in full. Why does he have to pay in full? Because Baal Habayis can tell him it's your bad luck. You see that no one else's fields were struck, were hit by the plague. Only yours was hit. Then we say, it's your problem, and therefore we say that you still have to pay me in full. Says Baal Habayis. Rabbi Yehuda comes Rabbi Yehuda to argue on one point, and he says depends. In kibla himenu b'ma'os, if the oris, as opposed to most arisim, did not promise he's going to give him X amount of fruit per year. He said he's going to give him money. I'm keeping all the fruit for myself. Regular rental. I'm renting the field for, 100,000 a year. Yeah. Then ben kach u ben kach einu menake lo michichuroi. Then whatever happens, we say that he has to pay in full. What does he have to pay? You don't have to pay when you have to work the ground, and the ground is not workable. It's all about the ground. I'm supposed to pay from the ground. There is no ground, and it's not my fault. Everything went kaput all over. But she'enken, when you say that it's money, I'm supposed to work the field, but it's money that's supposed to be given, then money is still there. Yeah, the money itself wasn't affected by the work. It's like I'm renting a house and I'm not living there. You still have to pay. Yeah, that is not such a great example because if he doesn't work the field, of course he has to pay. This is unable to work the field and he still has to pay because the agreement is about money. The truth is, Rabbi Yehuda is not the issue right now. Today, we're not going to discuss Rabbi Yehuda. We may discuss him later in the Gemara. Right now, yeah, Rabbi Yehuda will be discussed in 2 days' time, probably. The main part of the Mishnah is, again, we differentiate between, let's summarize, let's repeat the main point. A chochir is faced with a very difficult situation. He cannot work the field. He can't. Why? The locust came and ate it all up. He actually worked the field, yeah, and everything went kaput. He worked, and then came the wind. That's a very terrible heartache, right? In other words, what he's going to do depends. Does he still have to pay the Baal Habais? Depends. Do we say that it's a Makas Medina? It's not his fault. It happened to everybody, himself included. It's a general problem. I don't have to pay you because there's nothing to pay from, nothing to do. There's no field. Mashenkin, if it's a local thing, only his field and no one else's, then we say, I'm sorry that you can't pay me because you don't have fruit to pay with. I feel bad for you, but it is your bad luck or your averus or your whatever. Hashem is focusing definitely on you and your field as opposed to all other fields is the one who got a locust. So we see, or the shidofon, yeah, the dryness. By the way, you know where the word shidofon is from? Shdufois, where do we say shdufois kanim? In the dream of Paro, right? The stalks grew up shdufois kanim. They were very thin. But over here, shoduf does mean thin. I checked in a few meforshim and Tefel Sod and other Gemaras. Shoduf here means that it was so thin and bad it actually fell. Like it all went kaput and blown by the wind. It's just not there. So now, what? Shidofon in older meforshim means that the wind came and blew away the grains. That's quite unanimous. Maybe there are other pshatim as well, but I actually checked it. So before we continue the Gemara, look behind me. This is our field. The field that we talk about, that's a field that was affected badly. That field is surrounded by adjacent fields, let's say 4 other fields, and all around it are other fields further away. That's just the map we're going to work with today. Let's see, Metzia Hashem. Zog the Gemara. The Gemara asks the question now. We said in the Mishnah, I'm just repeating for people who came now. What did we say? If the problem of the field is a general problem called Makas Medina, Makat Medina, general problem all over the place, it's a plague, then we say, oh, it's not the fault of the chochir. What do you want him to do? He can't work, he can't pay, he can't do anything, leave him alone. But if it's a localized thing, it's something that only hits him and not others, then we say, how come nobody else was attacked by the locust? You know, it's such a story happened in Shemitah. Remember a few Shemitas ago, there was the locust hit one field and not the other. They were right next to each other. Here they kept Shemitah, here they didn't. Something's wrong with you, mister, and therefore you still have to pay me the annual sum, the annual fruit. Whatever I doesn't have fruit, so pay me with money. You still owe me. Frag the Gemara. Heichidami Makas Medina. How do you define Makas Medina? When do you find a problem is a general problem? It hit the area, the city, the country, the world? What do you mean general? What's Medina? Amar Rav Yehuda, kegoin de ishduf ruba de baga. Says Rav Yehuda, as long as the majority of the baga is the plain. As you know, the Gemara many times talks about bika as many fields, one next to the other, all in the same bika, all in the same plain, all in the same valley. Yeah, and that's called baga. So if you have many fields, it's the majority of the fields in the bika, regardless of how close they are to the field. If most of the fields, I don't know, 60-70% were hit, then it's called Makas Medina. And if your field is one of them, you're off the hook, you don't have to pay. That's Rav Yehuda. Ula argues and says, Ula says no. If you have the sodas far away, and this one too, it's not called Makas Medina. Only if the 4 fields adjacent to this one, north, south, east, and west, only then we say that the adjacent fields were all affected by, I don't know, locust, and locust. Then we say that's called Makas Medina, yeah, the neighboring fields. Then we call that Makas Medina, but if it happened further away, yeah, let's say the locust is here and not here, let's say those fields are clean and only yours has locusts, but the circumference around you doesn't, and only you do. So even though you may have many others over there, still in this area, yeah, he's focusing closely, more of a close-up, Ula. And then we say it is your own problem. This is what Ula says. So that's really the machloikas. In other words, what happens if 80% of the fields in other places, in other areas are affected, yeah, but your close area is not affected? Ravida would say it's still called Makas Medina. We go by the general picture. We look in our bird's eye view from above, from a helicopter. We see most of the fields here, there. You're part of the story. Get you off the hook. It's not your fault. Yeah, even the ones near you are okay. Willa says no. If the ones near you are okay, yeah, this is wheat all over, all 5 fields. All of them are nice and healthy, and yours is, excuse me, stuck up there, has trouble. Yeah, whatever locust or chagovim shidofani rokoin, then you have to pay. Then it is your problem. That's in general. No questions yet because we have to build it up. Okay, let's build up a little bit the cases of Yuda and Ula. You're going to understand Ula better because Ula is going to start asking questions about himself. And then we're going to get it better, and then you can ask our questions too. Okay, Omar Ula. By the way, this is Machlokes Rishonim. About Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda, according to Rashi, says Ruba de Baga. Baga is one plane. One plane has 10, 12, I don't know, a few fields. Some Rishonim say Ruba de Bagi, it has to be the majority of all the, much further, all the planes in the entire area, the whole region, much more. But Lamaisa, that's Rav Yehuda. Ula says no, only the nearby, mamish the adjacent area. Okay? Is this a technical short question or if would be question? That's exactly what I said. No, produce. No. No, sorry. That's just the opposite, and Chabal, we didn't continue. I'm sorry. No. That's the whole vort. They all had the entire, all of them are growing the same thing, to make it simple. They all have wheat growing very nicely. Those were affected, far away. The ones around our field were not affected, and the field is growing very nicely. The wheat grows very nicely, and this one was affected. That's Machlokes of Yehuda and Ula. But if there's nothing growing over there, that's a question we're going to deal with soon. Baita. Okay, Ula Oma. Ula says Ula, and Ula is now following his own logic. Bo b'ma'arove. They asked the question in Ma'arove. Nishdaf telem echod al pnei kula mai. What would be if this field was nishdaf, was dried out and everything fell, like this fell? It all fell. I'm sorry. And now there's one furrow, one furrow in each field near it. All the other, thank you. All the other fields are very nice and lush and good, but there's one furrow right at the basically framing this field, the border. This field is out for the count, is bad, and there's one telem, one furrow even beyond the border, inside each field bordering this one. How would we define that? Do we say Makas Medina? The other fields were also affected. Or say, come on, it's not the other fields, it's just one line. That's a question that we have. Do we define one line as already other fields? Because Mina Shamayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what he's doing down to the T. Or do we say, no? We say at the end of the day, of course he knows what he's doing, but Lamaisa, at the end of the day, it's only your field plus one tiny bit more. It's not called other fields were affected. That's one pshat. Now, and then I have to thank the article. I didn't get that through all the meforshim, I have to admit, in this case. Weiter. Nishdaf telem echod al pnei kula. Mai. That's one question. Nishtayer telem echod al pnei kula mau. Now the opposite question. Let's say that there's one furrow that survived, inside our field. In other words, all of them were affected. This one was affected with one telem that actually survived. The thing survived. So that because lo nishdaf, there's one telem that was not nishdaf. All of them were killed, so to speak, including this one, but one furrow wasn't. One furrow wasn't. In other words, this one is all done, and the other ones are almost all done, but they have one telem, one furrow surviving, and this one's completely kaput. Do we say, look, it's different? because they were not affected as much, or do we say 90% are the same? Yeah, the one far that differentiates, is it still called Makas Medina or not? That's a question. Another third question, which has to do with what you were asking before. If Sikaberamai, let's say all these fields, the other four, they were actually not planted at all. These fields over here, yeah, they have wheat in them, let's say, growing. This one has wheat growing, and these don't have anything growing. Now let's play the would have, could have, should have game. What would have been had there was wheat growing there? Would they also be affected? Now, this question and all other questions here does not bother Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, frankly, my dear, I don't care. Rabbi Yehuda says what? Lemaisa, as long as most of the fields are affected, I don't care how close they are. But Ula is like, Ula is quoting the Bnei Eretz Yisrael, saying they have a good question. If those wheats over there, those bunches of wheat were affected, and also this one, but here, bul, what does bul mean? Nothing. Bul means it lay fallow. Nothing is there. Would we say that had there been wheat growing there, they would have been affected? They would have been affected, and of course, then it is Makas Medina. Would say maybe not. Maybe they wouldn't be affected, and then it's not Makas Medina, it's their own personal problem. That's a question. What would be the question? And if you want to say that it is considered as a hefsek, we say, yes, it is still considered as an entity of its own, and therefore, yeah, they would have been affected. Then aspasta what would be if something actually else grew there, and that thing is fodder for animals? What would be if there's wheat growing here, wheat over here, and here you have something much cheaper, not for human consumption, aspasta. Aspasta, asbestos, is always mentioned as very cheap animal fodder. Yeah? It's not barley. No barley. Barley is soyrin. No, barley can be eaten by human beings as it is. Asbestos is not for human consumption. It's cheaper, and it's. I know. It says Michael Baim, but asbestos is really as a grass. It's like, whatever that is. So now comes the question: do we say, and let's say everything was affected, the wheat died, the wheat here died, but the aspasta didn't die? Do we say that's a local Makas Medina, or do we say no? Had there been wheat over here, the wheat would have also died. Why? So why didn't asbestos die? I'll tell you why. Asbestos is for animal, not for chitim. Maybe when a Kadosh Baruch Hu, Rosh Hashanah is coming soon, when a Kadosh Baruch Hu decided on Rosh Hashanah to hit the fields, he only decided and decreed about human food such as wheat and barley. But the asbestos is a different gzera. We believe in gzeras shamayim. The asbestos is out for the count. But had there been chita, the chita would also be affected, and therefore that saves his day. You can say be'etzim it's Makas Medina. Look, they were affected, everyone around. The asbestos wasn't, because the asbestos is not Makas Medina. But my chita is part of the Makas Medina. And had there had been chita here, he would have been affected like everything else, because Hashem did decide on the wheat. Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's the way to save his face. Zera acher mai. Let's say you would accept such a taina. Let's say you'd accept that claim that had there been wheat over here would be the same, and therefore I'm a victim. I'm a small cog in the cog in the big machine. Or do we say, if so, zera acher mai? What would be if you had two types of cereals, both for human consumption? Wheat, and over here barley. Wheat in the middle, and the circle around it is quinoa, rice, soirim, other things. Human, but other. Same question. In other words, do we say it's a different zera? Maybe the gzera was maybe chita and soira are considered a different zera regarding Hashem's gzera. Maybe Hashem made the gzera only in the chitim, not in the soirim, right? And therefore, it's not. I'll repeat the question. I'm not sure I understand it. That guy in the middle wants to what? He doesn't want to pay his rent. Those chitim died, and those chitim died his, and the barley all around him is nice and lush and beautiful. Says Balabas, you mister, I follow Ula. Excuse me, it's your fault. You didn't have a Rosh Hashanah. You're doing some Averis which we don't know about. Look, all the chitim around you have beautiful, amazing barley growing. Only your wheat field is not growing. Your fault. says maybe, or maybe you can say no. I'm sorry, Mister. I'm the Toin Rabbani now of the field worker. That's not true, because you see that the chitim in other places are also affected, and my chit is affected. Join the dots. What about the area around me? That's Seorim. Maybe on Seorim, Hashem did not decree on Rosh Hashanah. Had there been wheat over here, wheat would also be affected. You see that only wheat, and like Pesach, Hashem skipped over the Jews. Maybe that's the idea. We don't know. We have a question. And another question. What about if a different type of disease? It's the same type of cereal. Everyone there grows, I don't know, buckwheat. I don't know, whatever that is. Yeah. What? Whatever. Quinoa, anything. Yeah. Do we say that Lemaisa, it's all the same? His was affected by Yerokon, which is drought, dryness, and the entire world was a different makkah of Shidofoin, of the wind blowing and just blowing away the seeds. So there was a general catastrophe, but when you look carefully, it was not the same type of catastrophe. Do we still say Makkah's Medina, or do we say no? I think that question also applies to Rebuta, right? Because regardless of the location of the fields, the type of makkah is said to be the same Makkah's Medina or different Makkah's Medina. Inami, or alternatively, vice versa. The other way around. The entire world was affected by dryness, and he's affected by the wind that blew it away. What's halacha? Is it local? Do we say it's only his problem because it's different in location, different in produce, different in the makkah? Or do we say, no, at the end of the day, there was a general makkah, and it's not his fault, and he's not going to pay? Teiku, boom. After all that, we don't know. Teiku, so I assume that's what the traditional Rambam. I didn't see Shulchan Aruch, I didn't have time today. But usually in these cases, Teiku means that so L'chura, you can't demand him to pay you. You can't demand the worker to pay. Pashtus. You've been very patient, question time, and you've been very nice and patient. I appreciate that very much. The Gemara made in the Teiku, remember, these questions only apply according to Ula. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't care about that. Is machlokes rishonim if we pass like Rabbi Yehuda or like Ula? So according to Rabbi Yehuda, all these questions are relevant. Why? Because he doesn't care about the closed circle around the field. He says as long as the majority was affected, and it was, I don't care about your local neighboring fields anyways. So the whole question doesn't begin. The question all begins according to Ula, and there's a machlokes rishonim whether Ula is the halacha anyways. No. We can paskin like Ula in general. No, we can. No, the teiku wasn't whether Ula or Rabbi Yehuda are right. The teiku was details within Ula. In other words, there is what would be if, let's say, if everything was wheat. Again, here there's wheat. Outer circle, inner circle, infield, all wheat. Yeah? And they were affected and they were not affected. That's machlokes Ula and Rabbi Yehuda. And then some Rishonim paskin lakula, and they would say they were not affected and you were, you're local. That wheat was not affected. This was and yours was. Yeah. Then Rabbi Yehuda would say it's Makkah's Medina. Ula would say no, it's your local problem because the neighbors around you are not affected. And that's still room for machlokes Ula and Rabbi Yehuda. Ula only developed questions about if this is black, white, black, wheat as pasta wheat, Yerokon, Shidofan, Yerokon. That's a problem within Ula. That's how this more works. Get it? Logic is what the Gemara decided is logical. Right. Fourth line from the top, Bava Metzia Kufav Amud Aleph. Amarle, the Balabai stole the Oris, the Chochir, Zo Chiti, please plant, please sow seeds of Chiti, which is wheat. Smarty pants, smart guy, smart Alec. What did he do? He went, the Chochir, without permission, and he planted, he sowed what? Soirim, barley. Vishtaduf, now what happened then? Vishtaduf ruba de baga. The majority of the plain, the majority of the area was ishtaduf, was affected, was afflicted by that dryness, by the things falling, by the wind, by the bad wind. Vishtaduf nami, hanach sari delay. And also the soirim were mishtaduf together. Now here there are no questions. Wheat, barley, in other words, there was a general, all the fields, there's wheat, barley, shiva saminim, everything killed, everything was killed, everything died. The whole that in out, we're out of Ula and Rabbi Yehuda now. everything or most of it was affected, all types of everything. It's a Makas Medina. So, what's the halacha? L'choira, what? Mi amrinan, de omerlei. You would say, says who? The Chochir is telling Balabais, iluzrot chiti, avanami mishtadfa. Listen, I'm sorry I didn't follow your advice, but who cares? If I planted, if I sowed chitim there, would also have died. Everything died, right? Oidil, or maybe listen to this. This Gemara is a must Gemara before Rosh Hashanah. Hashem is kind to us, showing us a Gemara right before Rosh Hashanah. Or maybe Matzi Omale, the Balabais can tell the Chochir, Iluz Rata Chiti, had you sown Chiti, like I told you, like I knew was the right thing to do, have a Mekayim be, Hashem would have, the Mekayim, Hashem would have actually actualized the Pasuk, would exercise the Pasuk on me, apply the Pasuk to me. The pasuk that says in Eov, "Vatigzel oimer veyokum lach." Sometimes you goizer to Hashem like the tzaddikim. You kilu decree to Hashem veyokum lach, and He follows the decree. Hashem listens to your tefillos. I daven on Rosh Hashanah for wheat, not for barley. I know what I'm doing. I daven for Hashem. I daven to Hashem that He should give me great abundance and everything in atzlacha for wheat. And you, Mister, you did for Sa'orim. So it's true that, by the way, not all fields were affected, most were affected. There's always a minority. I think had you followed my advice, followed my spiritual journey from Rosh Hashanah, that's what would have happened. Well, do we accept such a taina or not? Istam answers the Gemara, unbelievable. The Omar Le, yes, the Balabais can tell the Oris, Izrat Chiti, had you worked with chitim, with wheat, have a Mekayim be, the posuk would have been applied to me, but tigzal oimer v'yokum lach v'adrochecho naga o. Yeah, tigzal oimer. You goizer to Hashem. You ask Hashem strongly. Hashem, please do that. Hashem follows Hashem does what you want. Hashem, your wish is kivyachol Hashem's is a command for Hashem. Unbelievable. V'adrochecho naga or. On your ways, on your path, the light shines. Says Rashi, beautiful words which you have to read inside. V'tigza oimer, says Rashi, look at Rashi, the second narrow line. Mashe tevakish mina yoitzer yaseh. Whatever you ask Hashem, the Creator, He'll do. There is such a level, there is such a thing. You ask Hashem very strongly for one thing, He'll do it. There are many, many stories like that. I asked Hashem at the beginning of the year to help me with wheat, not with barley. So why are you, Mister, giving me barley over here? Excuse me. And that is enough of a taina, because we believe it's all mishamayim. We know it's all mishamayim. Therefore, the fact that most other fields were affected, in this case, no, I believe my davening was strong and good. And you see, you messed things up. That is accepted taina. Continues the Gemara to another question. Nishtadfu. Let's make another little story over here. Let's say there's a whole bunch of fields, not even so close, in a different area, all these fields belong to the owner, and they're not our field. This is our field. This is our field belonging to Reuven and toiled by Shimon. Reuven, the owner, has many other fields. He's a rich guy. Reuven, the big, real estate mogul, mogul. He is a big guy in real estate. He has a lot of fields here. And he also has in a different area, another field here also belonging to Reuven and taken care of by Shimon, and that field went kaput. So let's see the story. So now, nishtadfu kol sdoisav shel machkir v'ishtaduf nami ho bahadayu v'lo ishtadfu b'debaga mai. Again, nishtadfu kol sdoisav shel machkir. Oy vay. Locust, kaput. All of Reuven's fields over there, puff. They're all affected, afflicted, all gone. Now, ishtadfu. Now, ve'ishtaduf nami abada. This one too. Locust, death, boom, pach. Bad news. Everything belonging to Reuven is out. Yeah. V'lo ishtadfu b'debaga. Now, however, all other fields in this area, this is a border. This is a strong border. All the other fields in this area were not affected. All the other fields are doing great. Smiley, beauty. They're all very nice and good. Only so now it's not so clear. If you look at the ownership, Reuven, it's your bad luck. Got to do your cheshbon and nefesh. I don't know what you're doing when we don't know. Reuven, it's, or maybe no. Or maybe we'll say, listen, this area was not affected. Only yours, where you're working in Mr. Shimon, yeah, in this area, mine was the only one. Do we allege it to the fact that it's Reuven? Reuven's fields were affected there, so the one here, Reuven, is also because it's Reuven's. Or do we say, no, it's because of Shimon? Why? Because the other fields in the area were not affected, so it's not Makas Medina. The locust only came, it's different locust to make you happy, okay? That's locust 8 from Egypt, and that's locust from Jordan, let's say. You see that here, they came, and they came, why? Because maybe of you, the Chachir. Maybe it's your bad luck. You're the only one in the entire area. Let's read it inside in the Gemara's language. Yeah? Again, Nishtadfu kol sdoisav shel machkir. All the fields of the owner were kaput gone. Also, this one, our field, the one in question, the Hadayu, with them was also afflicted. But the majority of this baga, of this area, of this plain, they were not. All others did survive. Mai, what's the haloche? Niamrinan, shall we say, because the majority of the field was not mishtadef, nothing happened to it, didn't get dry, didn't get bad, therefore, I'm sorry, it's your fault. We can't give you a reduction. Pay me in full. You see, no one else was affected. Not Levi, not Yehuda, only you. It's your clumsykeit, it's your bad luck, you, Mr. Choicher. Or maybe no. Or maybe because all other fields in a different area, or say his fields, the fields of Reuven in a different area were affected. Matzi Omer Lehai, the Choicher, the worker, can tell the owner, latach didachu. What's latach? Latach means your bad luck. Lata is a klolo. Lata is a curse or bad luck. It's your bad luck. Excuse me, mister. You're saying that I'm a choite rosha, something bad luck with me? Look over there. All your fields are the ones that, died, so to speak. They were destroyed, catastrophe, including this. So it's not me, it's you. How do we follow? Which way do you follow? Answers the Gemara. Here it's not a teiku. The Gemara answers, Mistabra, it makes sense to say, the Omerle, we side with the owner. We side with the owner. The Omerle, the owner can tell the Chochir, the worker, Imishum Latoi Didi, had it been because of my klolo, my bad luck, my problem, have a mishtayr lipurta. One of my fields or some of my field would have survived. Very, very interesting yesod in Ashkofa. We're going to read the pasuk and then we'll explain. Even at the times of the Churban, in the times of Yirmiyahu, it says that even Churban Abayis, you always have something left. When Hashem hits you and it's your fault, your problem, your chas v'shalom, your din, we should all have good dinim in Rosh Hashanah. If your din Hashem will always somehow let you, you never lose all your money down to the last dollar completely. You have a house, you have a room, you have some money in an account you forgot about. Yeah, you wouldn't kill all the children, whatever. Something always stays. At least with my other children, but something always stays. Maybe not in Makas Medina. Makas Medina, the Holocaust is different. But one person is affected individually, singled out, Hashem would always leave him something to survive with, something to hang on to. Because all my fields died, A, B, C, D, everything, field. They all died completely. They're all kaput. They didn't die. I mean to say, the cereals, went dry and everything fell apart. Therefore, it's not considered to be my bad luck. So we're not focusing on me. What's the other focus? The bika. You see that this bika, everything was nice and smiley and amazing. Only you're affected by locust or by dryness or by wind. We basically allege it to you, the worker, and not to me, because mine, all of them died. And chinami. If some other field stayed, maybe that would be different. I don't know what the halacha would be. True. Let's say one field stayed, and this one, maybe then this one died, and one of them survived. Maybe they would be different. Could very well be, but that's not the issue right now. Okay? Now the opposite. Okay? You good? You happy? Right. Next case, the mirror image, the mirror case. Nishtadfu kol sdoisov shel choicher. Ay, 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 ay. That choicher is not a poor guy. Who's a choicher? The worker. The worker has his own fields. All these fields, let's say, they belong to who? Belong to Shimon. Shimon, 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 let's say. Yeah, all these fields belong to the choicher. Okay? His name is Robert. Robert. Robert is the choicher, because I'm not going to change the R. Yeah, the choicher, the worker, has his own fields, and now he's working in someone else's field. Okay. They say some people own many houses and live in a rented house. I was told there's such a phenomenon. Yeah, I don't know why. They like it. Whatever. Yeah, it works out better for them. So he owns other fields, and he's working in this field of someone else. All of them, kaput, all eaten by locust, all dried out by the wind, but I don't know what storms, including this one, which is not his, but he's working in it. Okay, let's see. Nishtatfu kostos of shel choicher, veishtadfu b'debaga. No smiley faces. Oh, no, upside down smile. All bad. The entire baga, the majority of the fields around our field were badly affected. The shtaduf nami hobadayu, aganse kaput. Listen, all this died. His fields died somewhere else. All other fields, or most of them, also were affected, also afflicted, plus the one that we have here in the middle. So now the question is like this: Mai, what would be the halacha? Mi amrinan, shall we say? How do we look at it? Kevin the shtaduf de baga minakile. Listen, it's Makas Medina. Most of the fields here were affected, and they all had the same thing. Ellen, yeah, they all had wheat, they all had barley, they all had the locust coming everywhere, all very nice. Listen, it's locust coming, eating, having a very nice feast. Ganze Shein, Zer Shein Zach, everything together. It's Makas Medina, Menaki. Excuse me, I'm not going to pay you. Take away from my payment, meaning exempt me from paying. It's a Makas Medina. It's a general regional problem. Yeah? Menakile, oi dilma, or maybe, what's the other side? Clear. Kema dishtaduf kulu aresei, because the choicher has other fields in another area, and they were all affected. Get that? They belong to the choicher. They belong to the worker, and they're somewhere else, not here. They're there. And yours also, the one you're working, you're also. Metzia omale, the balabas can tell him, no, it's because of your bad luck, mister. I don't care that other people also were affected and afflicted and afflicted, whatever. I don't care. We see it's your issue because your fields that are completely different in a different place, they were affected because they belong to you. So this field, although it doesn't belong to you, but it's where you work, you probably work there too, by the way, then what? It's your issue, your bad luck, mishamayim. So what do we say? Again, quite consistently, we are supporting the owner. Listen to this. Mistabra makes sense, the omale. It makes sense to say that the owner is right. Bishulatach who? Yeah, listen, it's the bad luck of who? Of the choicher. What's the question? But all of the choicher fields died, right? They were all kaput, gone, including Frag the Gemara, wait a second. That's unfair. What's going on here? Amai, why? Here too, just like we said before about the machkir, about the owner, that if all my fields died, it's not my fault, it's too much already, it's not Gzerat Shamayim, it's not a personal Gzera. Why can't the worker say the same thing to the owner? Excuse me. The worker should tell the owner, did he? Had it been my issue, my klolo, my bad deeds or something, bad luck, yeah, the same posuk applies to me. Hashem didn't leave me purta. What's purta? A little bit. Hashem didn't leave me one tiny bit, showing it's already so bad. It's not my own makkah that I'm singled out. It's a makkah's Medina. So for carrot, everyone here are affected. I'm affected too badly. Of course, I don't have to pay. Why do you say that I have to pay? Answers the Gemara. Mishum de Omalei. He tells him as follows: yeah, if something should have stayed from you, from your own thing, he would have stayed from you, from your own fields, and not from my field. You are trying to say What are you trying to say? You're trying to say this field basically is the field that I want to be paid from, right? You're not the owner of this field. You're not the owner of the field, right? You are the worker in the field, and as such, yeah, and as a worker in the field, you claim I want to have my part, and that's no, actually, no. Excuse me, no. I'm confusing two things here. 1 second. Let me stop a second and look in Rashi again. No. Sorry for the break. I'll listen to you in a second. I'm just explaining the problem we have here. There is a problem in the logic here of the Gemara. That's what we're trying to figure out over here, because we're asking the following. Here, if we translate the Gemara says the Balabais can tell the Choicher, listen, if you're such a tzaddik and you have, some of the fields would have been, if you think that Hashem doesn't punish you lock, stock, and barrel, then some of your fields should be mishtayer, right? And not my field to give you money from. But at the end of the day, it's still difficult. Hagufa, if all the fields of the Choicher were taken away, boom, they're all, everything of the Choicher is out for the count, then what? Then at the end of the day, we say, it's really not the Choicher's fault, right? Because Hashem does not punish somebody completely. And therefore the Choicher can say, my fields are irrelevant, and your field is okay, because the whole Medina here, the whole Baga over here was affected. And that is something we have to see places to get the answer for. Okay, that was just the issue that I'm trying to explain here. So this piece of Gemara we have to understand. This piece of Gemara we're going to leave with a question mark. I'm going to look at Tosfos and then get back to you with a pshat. Yeah, because the pshat here does make sense. The Choyer on face value, we're going to see Tosfos. I'll have a look on Tosfos, and next year we're going to, next Shiur, not next year, next Shiur, we're going to explain that concept. For now, we will continue in the Gemara, and then Be'ezus Hashem will fill up that hole. Speaking of debts, I do have another small debt to you regarding the tefillin. Yeah, so we said if the tefillin are on your head and there's something else heavy that pushes them to like a corner, to a smaller place, that's not covered for the tefillin, don't do that. Yeah, right? What do? You move away the tefillin, preferably move away the stuff. So that's pshat. Now, Rashi says mismachos. I thought mismachos means the mamash crushing on the tefillin. That's not necessarily true. I think even in Rashi you can say the same shot like other Rishonim. Maybe mismachos means they're crushed, meaning they're pushed to a corner. That's now we can continue to another fascinating sugya very much to do with our sugya now. Okay, 1 second. Okay, now it's nicer. Meisivi. Before we continue, we have to give a small introduction. As we all know, in the times of the Torah, and Bimheira B'meinu Amen Mashiach should come, in the times of the Torah, when a person would sell a field, yeah, halachas would be very, very different. One halacha everybody knows, you sell a regular field, yeah, or property, except for both the most properties you sell them forever? No. There are exceptions, but most cases, when does it come back to you? Yovel, the Yovel year, the 50th year. Another halacha is, there are 3 different cases there. One case, when you sell a regular field out of town, it doesn't belong to a Levi, it's not inside the town, a regular run-of-the-mill nice field in a Shomron, in a Galil, Golan, wherever you want, near Tel Aviv, whatever, you sell a field to someone, a regular field that's meant to, it's not a potential gas station, it's a field to sow and reap and grow. So such a field, yeah, although it's a big mitzvah, it is a mitzvah, I don't know what to say, but I think it is according to many people, it's a mitzvah to redeem your field, yeah, you sold your field because you needed money, you're stuck for cash. The ideal thing is, even before the Yovel comes, to try and be oide, redeem the field, borrow money, get money. If not you, your son, your cousin, yeah. People should try and redeem the field and bring it back to the family. All very nice. However, the first 2 years you cannot do that. In other words, the buyer, midoraisa, Mefurish Psukim, the end of Chumash Vayikra, yeah, the buyer has the right, midoraisa, to do what? To maintain the fields for 2 years. Now, 2 years is the din d'oraisa. You can accept it as xeris hakosuv. However, the Torah says, as we're going to see soon, shnei tvuos, 2 agricultural years. And Lamaisa, the Gemara in Bava Basra says the 2 full years are actually 1 full agricultural cycle. From the very beginning till the very end, it's either one or two. There could be different ideas, but the idea is to allow him to have at least one, if not two, agricultural cycles to enjoy the field. He bought a field. You can't redeem it too quickly before he managed to say Jack Robinson, as they say, before he managed to do anything. Again, please accept that Svara is a general rule. We're not going to always follow this Svara, but I'm just giving a general idea so you understand the mitzvah of the time. Yeah, allow him, give him some time. Poor guy. He bought a field. He's not a criminal. He bought it with this good money. Give him 2 years. He's not allowed to touch the field for 2 years, even if he comes with $1 million, unless he wants to. But otherwise, you can't force him. After 2 years, you can come and with money and say, I want my field back, or my cousin's field back, or my grandfather's field back. And he says, no, you bring the police. Yeah, no, I'm not joking. In other words, after 2 years, he's mechuyev, whether it's like it or not, to give back the field. We gave you your time. We have fair money now. We're playing fair. We have the money. We're giving you the money. Now give it back to me. And you're forced by law, because Allah always wants the fields to belong to the original owners. We'll give you good money. Go buy another field. Buy yourself a yacht and, rent it out as a skipper. I don't know what you'll do. None of my business. That's basic Doraisa. So far, I didn't say any Chiddush. These are all psukim and foroshim, everything I told you till now. That's just the background information. 1 second. Now, let's say I came after not 2 years. I sold my field in the year Taf Shin, let's say, yeah? In Taf Shin Yud, 10 years later, I made money, Baruch Hashem, I became a big menahel, I have a lot of money now, I want to redeem my field after 10 years. Yeah, let's say that field was sold for a nice, easy number, 50,000 shekels. That's very cheap. 50,000 shekels. After 10 years, how much money should I give him? What? No. Much less. Not inflation here. It's not the prices in Yerushalayim. The sale is only up to Yovel. Every halachic sale of field is really just the lease till the Yovel. In other words, yeah, really, I sold him. If let's say I sold him, I'm saying 50,000 on purpose. Let's say I sold him 50,000 shekels. That means every year is worth 1,000. So after 10 years, I deduct 10,000. Yeah, and I'll only give him 40,000. Yeah. By the way, I'm not exact with the numbers, even halachically. I'm giving you the general picture now. Okay. Begadol kemispel shnei tvuos imkor lecho. Yeah, he has to sell it back, and you have to play very fair and realize the years. You can also maybe play with fluctuation of prices of the market. It's discussed in Erchin. It's not the issue now. We have enough on our plate without that. Yeah, let's assume prices stay the same. Science fiction. So Lemaisa, you pay per year. Yeah, after 25 years, let's say you pay half price. Yeah, to redeem it back because you already got half. Okay, that's how it goes. These are the basic Dorais effects. That's before we even started talking. Now we're going to basically juxtapose the sugya that we're talking about. What's our sugya? And Oris, Makas Medina, a guy coming down to the field. Oy, oy, oy. The locust came. Rahman al-Litzlan. Does he have to pay? Doesn't he have to pay? Generally, what did we say? Makas Medina. If it's a general problem all over the place, not going to details, then he doesn't have to give your share. It's not my fault. Everyone else is the same. I have nothing to pay from. Mashenkin, if it's his own field that was affected and no one else's was, the surrounding fields look nice and lush and amazing, and the locust and the wind didn't come, then it's your bad luck, it's your chatoim, your maisim roim, your issue, and then you still have to pay me the regular price. Meisivi. Before we continue, just one important point. According to Rashi and other Rishonim, this only applies to chochir, not to an oris. Why? An oris, why wouldn't this apply to oris? It's percentage. There's no percentage. Buy a chochir. I don't care about your percentage. You have to pay me a set amount. You rented an apartment. You went to Chutzatz for 2 months. Who cares? You didn't live there. You still have to pay me, right? Elamite, a Makas Medina, the chochir gets off the hook. But in oris, it's not an issue. If there's zero made, there's zero. From zero, there's no percentage. 0%, right? That's Rashi. The Rambam says otherwise, but we don't have time now. Meisivi. Now comes the Gemara. The Gemara is going to ask on both of Yuda and Ula. The Gemara is going to ask a question now. That question will be an attack, a challenge on the entire concept we saw in the Mishnah. Shidofoin beyerokoin oy shviis oshayu shonim kishnei Eliyahu. Everything will be explained, don't worry. Again, let's say the first 2 years you sold your field in at the beginning of Tafshin Pei. What's the first year you're allowed to start to redeem the field? Tafshin, the entire Tafshin Pei give him. The entire Tafshin Pei Aleph. Tafshin Pei Beis, you come with $1 million, you redeem, right? 2 years, let him have it, leave him alone. What happens if these 2 years, one of them, let's say, one of the two or both, were years that were very, very unlucky and it was impossible to work the field? It was a field, there was a year full of shidofon. What shidofon? Bad wind that blew away everything. Yerokoin is drought, dryness. Shvis. Shvis is a very nice time, but he can't work the field. You have to give him 2 years of what? Of workable years, arable, right? The shvis means if the first or second year happened to be shvis, he can't work in shvis. You can't say, I gave you enough time to work. No, I didn't have time to work. It was Shemitah. I'm a frum Jew. And that's important to know. In the times of Eliyahu Novi, Achav and his wife Izebel, big of the Zor, she was much worse than him. And Achav mocked Eliyahu Novi and Moshe Rabbeinu Lo Aleinu. And Achav said, how come I worship Avodah Zarah and still I have so much abundance and everything's growing so nicely? So Leo told him, okay, wait and see. Ooh, nice stuff coming. And really what? There was horrible, horrible drought and Rov, there was terrible hunger. Because really Achav deserved it because it was a terrible over the Zara. And that was the years of Eliyahu. Eliyahu, yes, some people survived. It was terrible hunger. Such years of what? Of being unable to work the field, they don't count as those 2 years. Why? Makes sense. Because those 2 years have to be not 2 years on the calendar. You mark it, tick, tick, Tafshin Pepe Aleph. These are 2 years of what? Of being able to work the field. I wasn't able to work the field. Let's say the first year was Shemitah. Yeah? You don't come after one. Give me 2 years when I can work. Makes sense. However, there's a catch here. Tani, Shidofan v'Yirokon dume deshonim kishnei Leo. Look at the comparison. We compared the years of Shidofan v'Yirokon of the agriculture catastrophe to the years of Eliyahu Novi. Mashne Leo de lo havitvua klal. Just like with the time of Eliyahu Novi, it was you know how it was in the times of Eliyahu? The entire Eretz Yisrael, or at least the part under Achav, which was the majority of Eretz Yisrael. 10 out of 12, 9.5, whatever. Almost 10 tribes were under Achav, and the entire area was in terrible hunger. Tvua. There was no tvua, there was no food. Afalchonami, the lo havi tvua klal. So here too, when it comes to the Shidofan v'Yirokon, the person who bought the field from you, it says, hey, give me a break, give me a chance. When can you tell him, when can you say that, listen, give me a chance to work? Only if nobody in the entire country has no food, has no way to work the field. But let's say some areas there is tvua, in other areas there is no tvua. Let's say, and that's why it's a challenge on both Ula and even Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Baga, that plain is called Makas Medina. What are you talking about? You see that here Makas Medina is only the entire country. But as long as you don't have the entire country drought and hunger, Salkale. So those 2 years, that's a big chiddush. Although the buyer, couldn't work the field, but since Lamaisa, it was not a very, very general Makas Medina, we still say it's your problem. Below coming in Makas Medina he. So even though the sugis may not be the same, but tell me why not? Here we say Makas Medina, according to Ulan Reviuda, you talk about 4 fields? You talk about the whole area of 10 fields? No. Look at the other sugya, which is in Fursha Mishnah, by the way. It's a Mishnah. The Mishnah says what's called Makas Medina? The country, the Medina. You know it's Medina? The Medina. So how can you talk about small areas? It's true the sugyas are different, but why should, so what? Omar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, I'll tell you why the sugya is different from buying the field and from not working as the chochir. Shiny Hossam, over there, there's Gzeres HaKosuv. The Omar Kro, there the Posuk says, B'mispar shnei tvu'ois yimocher lecho. Shtonim sheyesh ben tvu'a ba'olam, full stop, end of Shiur, which means, there the Torah has a different definition. The Torah says, you know what kind of year you know what kind of 2 years should be the 2 years that were in which when it stays in his hands. Shnei tvuos, years where there is tvua. a year of crops, a year of yielding, a year of tvua. As long as there's some tvua in the world, somewhere in the world, or somewhere in the country at least, or maybe in Chutz La'aretz, we're going to discuss that later, that's called Shnei Tvua. You had drought, it's not my problem, says the one who wants to redeem the field early. Yeah? Mashenkin in our sugya, there is no such posuk. The Chochil is all Darabonon, all has came in between Balabatim. So there's no posuk to tell me otherwise. You have to use human logic. When you use human logic, you either say 4 fields or you say the plain. You don't say that the entire country has to be Makkah Medina in order to exempt the Olis, the Chochil. Amen. Thank you very much. I definitely owe you an explanation regarding the Chochir, the previous sugya. I will work on it, look in Toises on the Rishonim, and we'll get back to you, Ezras Hashem, on Sunday. See you on Sunday. Atzlocha Rabba to everybody here. YouTube channel, Torah Anytime and Kol Lashon. I apologize for that piece, and we'll, Mirza Hashem, have a better explanation next time. Have a very good Shabbos, Atzlocha, inspirational, amazing Elo. Repesach Kron is speaking tonight here in town, you know, Repesach Kron, 8:15 in Esh Kodesh. Atzlocha Vrocha.